Davante Adams, there goes after a bad game last night between both teams. They both go for trades today. They're like, oh man, we definitely learned something after last night, and this is what we learned. We both need a wide receiver after this, going for field goals. They maybe too.
I mean, the funny thing is, we need a wide receiver, but is that really going to solve all the issues that the offense looked better? I'll say that in that Bills game, the Jets did look better at times. So I mean, now that they were able to add Davante Adams to that team, now you got to worry about Adams on one side, Garrett Wilson on the other, and people were like, "Well, what's going to happen to Mike Williams?" Well, he's on the trade block. Honestly, like he was utilized hardly at all anyway. Alan Lazard has been more in a usage package than Mike, so he's going to probably way out via trade somewhere. Don't know where. Maybe Kansas City, because I know they haven't been able to pull off a trade for a wide receiver yet. Maybe Mike Williams goes to Kansas City for just a cheap draft pick or whatever, like a low end draft pick. But yeah, like so. The Jets finally get it to work out. Like, the Vegas Raiders and the Jets come to terms. What it's being seen as right now is it's a conditional third-round pick with the potential of turning into a second-round pick. And two things either thing has to happen. Either the Jets make the AFC Championship game, or Davante Adams himself has to make first team or second team All-Pro. So if either one of those things happen, then it turns into a second-round pick. Otherwise, it'll just be a third-round pick. So I don't know about you, Jim. Who do you think in this trade scenario? Who do you think won? Do you think anybody lost? Do you think someone won? Do you think kind of like even? What's your take on this?
My take on this is, if I was the Raiders, I mean, I would have even tried to hold out a little longer for something better. I mean, yes, it's conditional to which it could be, because you would think that with Davante Adams using that offense and the way Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust anybody there at all, especially Mike Williams, especially after last night too. After the dude even slipped and still attempted to catch it, and Aaron Rodgers still like, man, this guy sucks. It's like walking around, oh man, I can't trust this guy at all. And so Davante Adams is still going to get yardage, and he's going to be up there, and he could potentially make All-Pro here to get that changed into a second. But for this caliber of a guy still, even at his age, I mean, I would have said definitely a number 2 and then something else. And the fact that he just walk away with a third and like I said, potentially to be a second, I think, especially with how desperate the Jets are after that game, you would figure they're coming in and they instantly were on the phone. Hey, we're desperate, man. What do you got here for us? Please, we'll do this. And the Raiders like, yeah, it sounds good. I would be like, no, give me more. What else do you want? I could hear the desperation. So I feel like the Raiders should have got more out of this trade for Davante Adams, especially for what he brings to that team. And the fact that, yes, he's not going to be there, for the Raiders, obviously, because he wanted out, but the value, I think, just isn't there in the trade.
I think that, I kind of agree. I think the Raiders should have stuck it out a little bit more. I mean, everybody around the league was saying, we're not going to give up a second round. The asking price is too high. Well, here's the funny thing is, like, you look at past trades, because you compare what happened before, like Amari Cooper years ago, the Raiders, he went for a first round pick, but then you look at him because he was younger, so that kind of makes sense. But then you look at some of the other veteran wide receivers that have traded for fourth round picks, third round picks, and maybe even a couple of mid round picks. It's Davante Adams. Like, this is not any of those other trade scenarios. You can make the case, be like, yeah, but it's Davante. Like, this is just a upper mid-tier type of wide receiver. This is who's been in the league for a number of years and has done it at such a high level. He's still, even at 32, considered one of the best in the league. So if you have that kind of a caliber player, you have to capitalize on it if both sides want to place. I think they should have held on to him. Honestly, I think they should have play next week for the Raiders. I think they shouldn't have rushed into a trade, and they should have played a little bit hard to get in this scenario, because the Jets were fiending for a wide receiver. The Bills were fiending for a wide receiver. The Steelers are looking, and it was all they had the advantage in this. Like they could have held out for a little bit more. And if they wanted a higher pick, we've seen this happen in trade scenarios before. They give up a low round pick just to get that little bump up to the second round.
Right.
And it depends on the team, right? So, like, you look at the Jets right now, and the Jets haven't been playing good football. They're losing a lot of games, and they haven't been the team we thought they were going to turn out to be. All being said, just by adding Davante doesn't all of a sudden turn this team around, and now they're Super Bowl caliber. Like, I get how good Davante is, but the whole team as a whole needs to play much better than what they showed even against the Bills. Now, both teams screwed up in that game. There was some mistakes made on both ends, but it was sloppy. It was sloppy on the Jets' part. And you add a key like that, he's going to command the football. And that was kind of like the bigger story between and him, is like he felt like he wasn't a bigger part of the offense anymore and wanted to where that he either has a chance to compete for a championship or definitely get his numbers. So a little bit of that diva mentality. But with that, with the Jets and Davante, good for them that they pulled off this and they got him for basically just a third round pick. I think that the Jets won trade. I mean, hands down, I don't think you can really debate it, because here's what you have to look at it as. Yes, it could possibly turn into a second rounder. It is a third rounder. That's what you've agreed to. And even if it turned into a second rounder and the Jets make it into the playoffs, it's a second rounder in the latter part of the draft. This is not a high-end second-round pick then. So the value for Davante Adams, you're saying, is diminished greatly. And you're okay with this. So I think that the Jets won hands down with this trade. The Raiders lost, and I gotta say, like, I'm a little disappointed in newly hired Tom Telesco as a GM thus far. Tom has been making poor decisions as a GM. And now you have an opportunity to really kind of capitalize on a trade for a upper echelon type of player, and you only get a third.
Yeah, and I agree too. That's the thing, is like you didn't get the compensation, and I feel like they, knowing that people are shopping around, that you had all this interest. You still have until right before week 8 here to go, so you had another week to go here and see how desperate people really get and what they're going to shell out. I think that they pulled the trigger now, I think, is a little premature and interesting. Here
you could have waited right down to the 12th hour. Like, you could have waited right for it and then be like, okay, we'll take that deal. That's what we're going to get. Let's just do it. Here's a crazy thing, though. Go back a year. Go back to last draft, before the draft happened. The Jets wanted Davante really badly then. So badly, they were willing to give up not but 2 second-round picks. And the Raiders said no. Honestly, they knew what the contract was. The contract coming up next year had $35 million tag on it, and they weren't going to pay. So if you had any thoughts of moving on from Davante in a year's time, why not pull that trade off? Why not before the draft even happened, send Davante to the Jets for not 1 but 2 second rounders, and they were second rounders, conditional. So, to me, that was a missed opportunity for the Raiders. And now that they've stalled and waited so long, that nobody was willing to pay what they were looking for, and they miss out.
Yep. So here we go. We get to see Davante Adams here reunited with Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be Davante, and I mean, you talked about it with Mike Williams on his way out. Yeah, I mean, I think that's obvious, but I think this is going to also hinder, I think, Garrett Wilson's production as well. You know what I mean? Drastically, because that, you see what he does with Aaron Rodgers. He trusts in Allen Lazard so much. That's his go-to guy. Now Davante's here. I just see those two as the 1-2 punch, and Garrett Wilson, bringing up, the cleanup after all of it, which is a good position to be in, though. But
I see it a different way. I see it that this is going to enhance Garrett Wilson's productivity, not away from it because Davante's going to always get double teamed. Like he's just that good. So he's going to still get the attention he deserves. But now look at what Garrett Wilson did against the Bills. Like he was pretty darn successful in that game. It's just him. Alan Lazard, yeah, nice kind of like possession type receiver piece, but he's not a playmaker. He's not. And now that you put Davante in there, now a lot of the attention, instead of it all being on Garrett Wilson, now it's going to be shifted. It's going to go over to the Davante more often than not. And that's going to be up Garrett Wilson even more than before. So it's going to kind of help out both players. Like Davante is still going to get his catches, but Garrett Wilson now, he's not the lone shark, the lone playmaker on that team. So I look for this offense to be more diverse now. It's going to be able to, Aaron Rodgers can now have the freedom to spread the ball around. Now he has yet another familiar face that he already has chemistry with. Like it's almost going to be like effortless when we see them next week together.
Yeah.
And then Garrett Wilson, they're still working on it. And you saw a big improvement against the Bills with that chemistry for Garrett Wilson. So this is going to be amazing for the Jets offense. But again, they have to win as a team. They cannot continue to make mistakes. So let's see how this offense thrives and see how the defense feeds off of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you brought up, they need to limit mistakes. I mean, they're second right now in overall penalties with 50 penalties, only second to the Houston Texans with 51. And that's what you see with this team. If they weren't penalized so much, I think their record's completely different too, because that put them out in so many games already this season. I mean, that set up the Bills a few different times here. Previously, I can't remember exactly what game it was, but Sauce Gardner was called for like pass interference, like 3 possessions right in a row, or 3 downs right in a row, and brought it right down to the goal line just about. So these guys got to eliminate the mistakes, and that's one thing that the head coach really has to do. If one thing if you had to say it about possibly. With Robert Saleh, maybe that was the issue. He wasn't getting, you think he would teach discipline because he looks like that's what he does. He's a very disciplined guy, takes care of his body, runs up and down the steps every single day when he's in there. But the team wasn't disciplined at all. There's mistakes everywhere. And now it continued here. And that offense ran a lot better, I think, with a different play caller, so I think that made a difference. That was a difference a change that Robert Saleh was going to make in the first place. But
exactly.
We didn't get to see a whole difference with the head coaching job. Everything looked pretty much the same, except he's calling the plays right there still like he was before, but just with the coach's headset on there and everything. And the defense, if it wasn't for their defense, I think they wouldn't be in some of these games here too. But the offense looked a lot better. They definitely ran Breece Hall a bit better. And they got him out into some passing plays too. So I think Aaron Rodgers was a little more mobile too, I think. And I think a mobile Aaron Rodgers is a better setup for them in their offense.
You talk about Aaron Rodgers being mobile. Now, he got a little banged up in that game too.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Gotta definitely watch out for Aaron Rodgers' health too, because Davante just got there. Now, it would be a complete, let the air out balloon type of feeling for the Jets if he got so banged up he's going to miss some time, because he's getting up off the field a couple of times where he got a pretty slow and gingerly walking, and man, he cannot continue to take hits. The offensive line's a much better job of pass protecting. Run blocking, they're pretty darn good at. Pass blocking, there's holes there from time to time, and they gotta correct that. They gotta get better for the next week and really soon, because no defense is gonna take it easy on them.
Absolutely. You think that Davante in that trade deal, he maybe finagled a way to get a Taco Bell inside MetLife Stadium?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. I think
that was a
nice. Vegas thing. I think it was a Vegas thing.
Oh boy.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these 2 boxes.